I'm going to try not to keep you long, but y'all already know if it gets good, I'm going to keep on talking. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The goal of Nuggets today is a guideline to healthy thinking. Why? Because God says, as a man thinketh, so is he. As a man thinketh, so is he. Which means, well, whatever you think, you're going to eventually speak it. And when you begin to speak it, what's going to happen? It's going to manifest. Why? Because God says, well, there is power in your tongue to bring forth both what? Life and death. So you want to make sure that you are monitoring your thoughts as well as your speaking, your conversation. And today I'm going to give you a guideline to monitor your thoughts, okay? I'm going to come from Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, and this is what it says, y'all. Finally, brother, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, and if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. That's your guideline. I'm going to read them to you again. Truth, honesty, just, pure, lovely, good report, virtue, praise. Whenever you're having thoughts in your head and you're participating in conversations, ask yourself, is what I'm thinking about, is what I'm talking about, is it of truth? Is it of honesty? Is it just, which means what? Just based off of righteousness, not off of your emotions, not off of your feelings, not off of their emotions, not off of their feelings, okay? Is what I'm thinking about and talking about, is it pure? Is it pure or is it perverse? Is what I'm thinking about or talking about, is it lovely? Am I saying nice things about these people? Am I saying nice and lovely things about these people or about myself? Ask yourself that. Is what I'm thinking about and what I'm talking about, is it of a good report? Is it of a good report? Because if it's not of a good report, it's going to do what? It's going to cause you to be in a sunken place. Have you ever had somebody give you a call and everything they talking about is bad news? Ain't nothing good about it. And then when you hang up the phone, you feel, why I feel so heavy? Why I feel down and out? It's because you participated in a report that was bad. Even if what they were saying was true, if they said, hey, listen, the doctor said I have this, that, and the other, that is the truth. That is the facts of it all, right? But what does God's report say about it all? God's report is always good because his truth is everlasting. Regardless of what people say, do, whatever it is, God's report is the standing report. It's the everlasting report. So you have to ask yourself, is what I'm thinking about, is what I'm talking about, is it of a good report? In other words, does it line up with what God says? Okay. Then it says, is the thoughts or is the conversation that I'm having, is it a virtue? Is it a virtue? How are my standards in this conversation? Huh? How are my thoughts in this conversation? How are the standards in my thoughts? The morale of it all. If there be any praise, is what I'm thinking about and what I'm talking about, does it have room where I can give God the glory and give him the praise? Does it? And if your answer to all these that I just named is it, if it's yes, then you're good to go. Which means what? The blessings of God will be upon you forever as long as you stay in those guidelines. It's the guidelines to give you healthy thinking. Healthy thinking means what? That you will produce everything healthy. If you have what? A righteous root, a holy root, a peaceful root, what kind of fruit will you produce? Righteous, holy, and peaceful. God says what? I know the thoughts I think of you, they are of peace and not of evil, which means what? Now you're thinking peaceful thoughts, all because of that guideline. Everything that I just talked to you about in that guideline, it all produces peace. It does. So when you think the way God thinks, whether it's about you or anybody else, you're going to be in a space of peace, which means what? Blessings will overtake you. Don't y'all remember Balak and Balaam? Balak, the king had asked Balaam, the false prophet, to do what? Put a curse on the people. And no matter what Balaam did, he could not put a curse on them. Why? Because he went to God and said, I'm trying to put a curse on these people. And God said, you can't curse what I've blessed. God said, I blessed them. Why did God say he blessed them? He said, because he could not find iniquity in them. It wasn't that he couldn't find sin. He could not find iniquity. There's a difference. Sin is when you commit a sin, obviously. I know you're not supposed to define a word with a word, but y'all know what I'm saying. Iniquity is when you continuously commit the sin and you don't see nothing wrong with it. Which means that I don't see nothing wrong with doing this. Ain't nothing wrong with it. There's no wrong in it to you. You have now considered sin to be right. That's iniquity. And that's what God said. He said, I have not found iniquity within them, and neither have I found any perverseness in them. They are not perverted. They're not perverted, and there's no iniquity. And God said, because of that, my blessings will stay on them. And when you follow these guidelines, or what I just read to you in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, then your blessings will be upon you that God gives you. And no matter what man try to do to place a curse on you, or whatever the enemy trying to do, it won't work. No weapon formed against you won't prosper. It will not prosper. It ain't gonna work. Why? Because you are in the good standards of God. You are in alignment with God. So today, if you were having some crazy thoughts, start thinking on these things. Think on these things. Honesty, just, loveliness, pureness, right? Virtue, praise, good report, truth. Think on all those things. That's your guideline. If it don't line up with the guidelines, then kick it out. Say, nope, this is not of God. And then stick to what is of God. And that is of everything that is of peace. And watch what happens in your life. You will no longer be stressed. You will no longer have anxiety. Let's just say that. Anxiety, depression, all that stuff will be gone. It will. Because these guidelines produces nothing but what? Peace. And it is the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is. I hope y'all got this. But if you didn't, rewind it and watch again. But in the meantime, in between time, if you take just a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply to your life to the best of your ability, you won't ever mess with smile. Why? Because your smiles will always be genuine. Be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed. Y'all know what's coming next. Ciao.